Have you ever felt the sting of being laughed at, doubted, or underestimated? Today, we're diving into the unstoppable truth. Every mock, every doubt, every sneer is just a setup for your rise. This is a message for anyone who's been underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed, because what they laughed at is about to become your stage, and what they ignored is about to become undeniable. They laughed because they could not interpret what they were seeing, and people often ridicule what their understanding cannot frame, what their experience cannot validate, what their mindset cannot reach. When something challenges their internal limits, the first response is not curiosity, but mockery, because laughter becomes a defense mechanism against feeling small. They were not laughing at you as much as they were laughing at the discomfort your presence created inside them. You represented a possibility they had already decided was impossible for themselves. And when a person meets evidence that contradicts their settled beliefs, the easiest reaction is to dismiss it. Vision looks strange to people who live only by sight, and purpose feels threatening to those who survive on routine. When you spoke about where you were going, they heard arrogance because they had never learned how to think beyond where they were standing. When you move differently, they assumed confusion because they only recognized familiar paths. They laughed because they could not decode your discipline, your restraint, your refusal to participate in distractions that gave them comfort. Understanding requires humility, and humility is rare among people who are afraid of discovering how much more life demands from them. So instead of asking questions, they laughed. Instead of learning, they judged. Instead of growing, they remained spectators, watching from the sidelines as if observation were participation. What they failed to realize is that every major advancement in history was first misunderstood. Every significant idea was first rejected. And every person who carried something new was initially treated as foolish. The laughter was not proof of your inadequacy. It was proof that you were operating ahead of their comprehension. You were speaking a language their environment never taught them. You were responding to an internal call they had never heard. You were walking towards something they could not see. And people fear what they cannot predict. People mock what they cannot control. People laugh at what reminds them of their limitations. Resistance always shows up before recognition because purpose disturbs established comfort zones. And whenever purpose enters a room, it rearranges priorities, whether people like it or not. Purpose exposes wasted potential, unsettles lazy habits, and challenges the status quo, so it naturally attracts opposition. Before people applaud your results, they will question your motives. Before they admire your courage, they will criticize your confidence. Before they celebrate your success, they will resist your journey. Resistance is not a sign that you are wrong. It is often confirmation that you are aligned with something meaningful. Purpose does not blend in. It stands out, and anything that stands out becomes a target. When you choose to live intentionally, you interrupt the flow of mediocrity, and mediocrity always fights back. Recognition comes later, but resistance arrives immediately because growth threatens stagnation and progress exposes complacency. People resist not because they hate you personally, but because your movement forces them to confront what they have neglected within themselves. Your consistency highlights their inconsistency. Your focus magnifies their distraction. Your commitment reflects their excuses. So they resist, not with logic, but with sarcasm, jokes, and dismissive laughter. Resistance is easier than transformation. It takes courage to grow, but it takes nothing to criticize. Purpose requires sacrifice, but resistance costs only words. Recognition waits for evidence, but resistance reacts to intention. That is why purpose must be strong enough to survive seasons where there is no applause, no validation, and no external reward. If you depend on recognition to continue, resistance will stop you. If you require approval to proceed, opposition will derail you. Purpose demands inner certainty because the path is lonely before it is honored. The same people who resist you today will celebrate you tomorrow, not because you changed, but because the evidence finally caught up with the vision. Resistance is temporary. Purpose is permanent. Recognition follows results, but resistance follows intent. And those who endure resistance without losing direction are the ones who eventually redefine what is possible. Preparation is rarely visible because the most important work happens where applause cannot reach. and where opinions have no access. Long before outcomes appear, there is a hidden season where discipline is being formed, character is being refined, and focus is being sharpened. In that season, nothing seems to be happening on the surface, yet everything is being built underneath. Growth does not announce itself, and development does not make noise. While others measure progress by public recognition, preparation measures progress by private consistency. The silence is not absence, it is incubation. Skills are being sharpened, thinking is being elevated, and endurance is being strengthened without witnesses. What looks like delay to outsiders is actually alignment, and what appears insignificant is often foundational. Most people abandon their assignment in this phase because they mistake invisibility for failure. They do not understand that what emerges too early rarely lasts, and what is rushed often collapses under pressure. Preparation teaches restraint, patience, and responsibility before it releases influence. Without preparation, visibility becomes dangerous because exposure without maturity produces destruction. The reason many never sustain success is not lack of opportunity, but lack of preparation when no one was watching. True growth is measured by what you can handle when everything is quiet, when motivation is low, and when results are absent. That season reveals whether you are committed to purpose or addicted to attention. Preparation demands faithfulness in routine, excellence in repetition, and obedience in obscurity. It is there that habits are formed, decisions are solidified, and vision becomes non-negotiable. When the moment finally arrives, it feels sudden to observers, but it is only the unveiling of years of unseen work. Discipline is the dividing line between those who laugh and those who rise, because discipline chooses long-term results over short-term pleasure. Those who laugh seek comfort, entertainment, and validation, while those who rise pursue structure, focus, and growth. Discipline is not dramatic, it is deliberate. It shows up when motivation disappears and continues when emotions fluctuate. The disciplined person understands that feelings are unreliable, but systems produce outcomes. While others wait for inspiration, discipline operates on decision. It says no to distractions that feel good now in order to say yes to outcomes that matter later. Laughter often comes from those who cannot imagine sacrificing comfort for growth, because discipline exposes the cost of progress. Rising requires boundaries, and boundaries offend people who live without direction. Discipline creates separation not by arrogance, but by consistency. It builds momentum through daily choices that seem small, but compound over time. While some mock commitment, discipline quietly accumulates strength. It shapes mindset, reinforces identity, and produces confidence that does not depend on approval. Those who laugh often avoid responsibility because responsibility demands accountability, and accountability requires change. Discipline confronts excuses, challenges habits, and demands alignment with purpose. That is why it is rare. Rising is not a result of luck or timing, but of repeated obedience to principles that others ignore. Discipline trains the mind to stay focused under pressure and the will to remain steady through resistance. It replaces impulse with intention and reaction with strategy. Over time, discipline creates distance between those who talk and those who build. The rise is not sudden. It is the natural outcome of consistent discipline applied when no one is clapping, when no one is encouraging, and when no one is watching. Results are the language that silence mockery, the proof that vision was never wasted, and the evidence that preparation works even when no one believed in it. People may laugh, they may doubt, they may criticize, but results speak in a way that no argument can contradict. They do not depend on explanation, justification, or approval. They simply exist as undeniable reality. When you stay faithful to your assignment, the outcome becomes louder than the opinions that tried to diminish you. Many fail to understand that success is not about impressing people. It is about honoring purpose. When results arrive, they validate effort, perseverance, and intentionality. They are not a form of revenge, though to those who doubted, it may feel that way. They are the natural consequence of alignment between your actions and your calling. People often try to measure success by what they see externally, by wealth, status, or recognition. But true results are measured by growth, impact, and transformation. Results do not exaggerate, they do not distort, they do not fade. They testify to the truth that consistency produces outcomes, patience nurtures achievement, and vision drives progress. While some are obsessed with applause, the wise understand that real outcomes were being built long before attention arrived. Results honor the process, respect preparation, and confirm persistence. Those who mocked you will struggle to reconcile their laughter with what is now undeniable. The evidence of your life exposes their underestimation, illuminates their ignorance, and magnifies the foresight they lacked. They cannot deny the transformation because it is visible, tangible, and unavoidable. What they laughed at quietly becomes their regret because reality cannot be refuted. This is why you must never compromise on discipline, never surrender to distraction, and never undervalue the power of steady, faithful action. Results are the final chapter of preparation, the culmination of sacrifice, and the reward for enduring when it was easier to quit. They are a mirror of your integrity, the echo of your choices, and the manifestation of your vision. The journey is never about defeating others. It is about fulfilling the assignment within you. And when that is done, the impact will be undeniable. People will notice, not because you sought recognition, but because excellence commands attention. When your work produces fruit, it becomes an unavoidable truth, and it silences ridicule more effectively than any argument ever could. Destiny rewards consistency, not approval, because approval is fickle, fleeting, and dependent on perception, while destiny is constant, inevitable, and anchored in purpose. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to complete the course assigned to you, to walk the path intended for your life, and to remain faithful even when recognition is delayed. Those who rely on validation are bound by the opinions of others, but those who embrace their assignment operate independently of approval. Destiny demands courage, perseverance, and clarity of purpose. It is not influenced by laughter, hindered by skepticism, or swayed by temporary setbacks. When you stay aligned with your calling, every action compounds, every decision builds, and every sacrifice accumulates toward fulfillment. People will question, they will criticize, and they will underestimate, but your responsibility is to continue. Approval is optional, but obedience is mandatory. Destiny does not negotiate with fear, doubt, or external judgment. It moves according to principle, preparation, and perseverance, not popularity. The faithful few who endure when no one is encouraging, who labor when no one is watching, and who remain consistent despite opposition are the ones who eventually receive the rewards that laughter could never produce. Destiny honors persistence, respects discipline, and magnifies those who refuse to compromise their purpose. It is not delayed by ridicule, it is not deterred by delay, and it is not dependent on applause. It unfolds according to design, reveals according to timing, and validates according to principle. Your responsibility is to keep moving, to keep growing, and to keep building even when no one sees, because destiny is determined by action, not by reaction. What people mocked in private becomes the evidence they cannot ignore in public, and the life they doubted becomes the proof they cannot refute. It is not about proving them wrong, it is about fulfilling what was written within you. And in doing so, the result will naturally silence every doubt, every laugh, and every naysayer. They laughed when you started, they doubted when you struggled, they mocked when you moved differently, but every silent moment of preparation, every disciplined choice, every unseen sacrifice has been building a life too powerful to ignore. Your results, your focus, and your consistency are rewriting the story. Laughter fades, resistance falls, and recognition comes, not because you sought it, but because purpose always prevails. Watch as what they dismissed becomes their regret, and watch as your destiny fulfills the vision you never let go of.